Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. Yes, it is Monday, 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and I'm here. I'm a few minutes late, but that's okay. I know you guys were probably didn't care, but it's fine. I'm glad you're here. Life is good. I am here today, and as always, the AMA is Ask Me Anything. Happy to have a conversation. And as you know, I spend a lot of time talking with the chat because I think you guys matter, and I want to make sure we have that connection as always. But very often I will begin this segment with something that's bothering me personally, or something that I think is important or valuable, or something like that, right? I'll something like that. So let me, I guess, I want to talk about the kids. I have two of them. You listening and watching, you may have one or two or three or four of them, whatever. You might have many of them. You may have none. You may not care. I don't know. I hope you care about kids, whether you have kids or not, because they are our future. So trite, but so true. But Michael Smarten brought something up. And the reason why I bring this up is twofold. One, because someone's bringing it up, but two, Michael Smarten is on CNN. And basically the only person I ever really talk about, is two people I talk about on CNN often, you hear me talk about them often, is Michael Smarten and Fareed Zakaria. Sadly for CNN, or maybe good, I don't know, depends how you look at it, CNN's weekly show lineup is virtually unwatchable. It's just so insanely bad and terrible and just horrible garbage, fear-mongering, terrible stuff to watch. However, the weekend shows, not all of them are bad. And the two that I watch almost always is going to be Michael Smarten, which is on Saturdays, and Fareed Zakaria on Sundays. Those tend to be good shows, and it goes kind of back to what CNN used to be good at and still is good at. It just doesn't do it anymore, which is regular news. If CNN would stop doing the let's tell you opinion about how much we hate everything or how woke everybody is, whatever, if they would stop doing that and just go to like a plane crashed and such, they might actually be okay if they would just do that, but they don't. But eventually I'm going to give you my prediction. It's a little bit off topic, but I'm going to say it now. My prediction for CNN. CNN within 2 years, maybe as early as next year, but my gut is after the election season, they're going to test it for the last time to see if 2022 does something. I think CNN gets rebooted, and it gets rebooted as something like a documentary channel or something like that. It can't function the way it is, particularly with people not taking cable and going online. No one's going to pay to watch CNN online. It's not something that's going to happen. And advertisers are going to flock away from it because no one's watching. So I think they're going to turn into something like a documentary channel or something like that, because they can make money on documentaries by selling them to other channels. They can make documentaries, and what CNN is good at is actually doing homework and such. They're good at that, and then they can sell that stuff. I'm sorry, way off topic, but that's my prediction for CNN. MSNBC will still be the woke channel. Fox News will still be the Republican Trump channel. That's still going to be true no matter what. Those two are going to stay. CNN goes away. The rest of them stay. Anyway, this is Michael Smarten talking about an issue that I didn't think you'd be hearing about on CNN, but he wants to talk about it, and I'm happy that he does.
In Philadelphia, and I'm worried about Kovid Kids. That's my label for those.
Oops, hold on. I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me pop that as a little bit of a technical issue. I will pop that right now. I apologize. Let me fix my technical issue. I apologize. There we go. Now we're rocking and rolling. I apologize, guys.
Philadelphia, and I'm worried about Kovid Kids. That's my label for those coming of age in the midst of a pandemic.
Yep.
They're bearing the brunt of COVID, even though most infected children are at much less risk of becoming severely ill.
Yep.
It's a tough time to be young and on the verge of a personal and professional launch.
Yes.
Rises in depression, anxiety, and suicide attempts, all facing today's youth, accelerated by the impact.
Who was talking about this 2 years ago now? Almost 2 years ago. Remember, who was oh, that was me. That's right. Literally, I put this in my videos on Sharpe Way. I literally said, this is going to be a problem 2 years from now. And it's a problem 2 years from now. Shocker.
Of remote learning. Kids are back in school in New York City and in D.C., where students were required to produce a negative test result. But this week in Chicago, the third largest school district in the country, the teachers union voted to refuse to show up for in-person work, upending school altogether.
I want you to really think about that. How do you feel about that? Right? How do you feel about that? The teachers union voted to not go to work. Is that a strike? Right? I mean, can they do that? Could you imagine if the hospital workers said, we're not going to the hospital? How? And I wonder if teachers want it. This is something I don't know. I'm ignorant to this. If you happen to know teachers who might know, I'm curious. Are teachers okay with this? Or is it very often teachers and the union are two separate entities and feelings? Not always. Sometimes they are simpatico, but sometimes they're very different. Sometimes teachers don't like what the union is doing. I'm wondering, are teachers okay with this? And if they are, why are we okay with this? We basically, and not that teachers shouldn't be able to strike. That's not what I'm saying. Teachers are like anybody else. If they want to strike, they should be able to strike like any other laborer, like any other worker. Of course, you should be able to strike if you want to. In fact, I'm actually pro-strike. I'm pro-workers doing what they're supposed to do and fighting for their rights like anybody else. I think it's an awesome idea. My problem is government has basically created this as a monopoly. If government's going to make this a monopoly, then how can they allow them to strike? Right? If you're going to not allow realistic alternatives to public school existing, which is what most governments do, then how can you let them strike? If the government's going to step up and say, no, it's us or nothing, and you must go to school and you cannot do anything else, well, you can't let them strike, can you? You can't let this happen. So either you've got to make it to where people can do other types of schooling very easily, and then great, strike if you want to, and we will go to what schools we feel appropriate, and you can fight for your rights as you see fit. I'm all in. Or you can't let them strike, one or the other. Am I wrong with this logic? You can't create a monopoly and then allow them to strike. You either allow the monopoly to break apart and let us do what we want for school. Okay, strike all day if you want to. Get what's right for you and your family. Please do that. That's amazing. Or you say, no, go to school, you're fired. This is a government monopoly. We're using force to make the kids go to school, so we'll use force to make you go to school. Fair is fair. If we're going to use force to make everybody go to school, you go in too. I'm not being anti-teacher here. I hope you get that. It drives me crazy. That's okay. What if the kids go, we're not going to school? They'll come and put the parents in jail. They'll take the kids away from the parents. But then this? Anyway, so now then they won't go to school. Even though never across the entire globe, not one time has a school been a super spreader event. Across the globe. Even in places like Sweden that never shut anything down. Even in Sweden, schools were never a super spreader event. Ever. So we can't go to schools. My mayor said, both my previous mayor, the worst mayor in the history of New York City, Bill de Blasio, and now we're going to see who might be the second worst mayor. We'll see how Adams works, but Adams is not so good so far. Both of them said, this is their words, school is the safest place for the children. Their words, not mine. They said that. The safest place for the children. If that's true, why wouldn't it be safe for the parents and teachers? Doesn't make any sense. Somebody's not telling the truth, or someone's just scamming. I don't know.
And these kids' lives. Tuesday, the second day back from winter break, Chicago Public Schools reported 422 new cases among students.
Yep.
While that's reportedly the highest in the school year, the district has more than 340,000 students.
Yes.
This translates to roughly 0.1% of the student body.
0.1%.
That shouldn't bring everything to a halt.
Yes.
Thousands of other schools around the country
Hold on. Hear that. Not 1%. 0.1% cases. None went to the hospital. None died. None. So 0.1%, it's like saying 0.1% of your kids had the flu, shut the schools down. Is it me?
delayed a return to in-person learning. Cities including Atlanta, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Detroit have switched to online learning or postponed reopening. What happened to the funding that was supposed to alleviate all this?
Yes.
$130 billion of
Hold on.
coronavirus.
This is the problem. That's all we do is write checks. We write checks. That's what the government does. There's a problem. Here's a check. What happened to the funding that's supposed to fix this? How does funding fix schools? I would ask this important question. When has funding ever fixed schools? It's a serious question. Ever. I can't remember any time funding fixed schools. Funding rewards bad behavior. So what do they give us? More bad behavior. Funding has just made these schools waste more money. You got to change the system. The system is garbage. Therefore, the teachers are stuck and the administrators rule, and all they do is take more money. School administrators, the vast majority of them, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe half, at least half, are just grifters, literally grifters. And if you're a school administrator, you know I'm right, and I'll say it to your face. Most of you are just grifters. Some administrators are very important and critical. No question, that's not very important and critical. Most are just grifters. So now you're just grifting. So you give them more money for what? More grifting. You reward the bad behavior. Scamming students and scamming teachers and pushing teachers out of the profession. Because why do teachers leave? Burnout for administrators. That's why they leave. It's so great. We gave $130 billion because that'll solve it. Just write more checks.
Relief funds were earmarked for ventilation in schools and social distancing in classrooms. And $10 billion more was set aside for testing in schools.
See that? What happened?
So what have we done to our kids?
Yes.
As this New York Times headline puts it, no way to grow up.
New York Times.
In the past 2 years, Americans have accepted more harm to children in exchange for less harm to adults.
Now, the critical piece here, I said this before. You've heard me say this, right? We are sacrificing our youth for our aged. And if I'm the aged, I'm in my 50s. I have kids in school and leaving school. And I think that most of you, if you're a parent or a grandparent or even uncle or aunt, you have someone young in your life you care about. If you had a choice, if someone said, hey, you, uncle, aunt, grandma, grandpa, father, mother, I would like to punish someone in your family. In fact, I have to. It's the rules. I'm going to punish somebody. Can I punish your children or can I punish you? I think every one of us will go, no, punish me. It's fine. You got to punish somebody. Punish me. Not my kid. Save my kid. Punish me. I think 99.9% of us would say that. Yet our government has said the reverse. Let's punish the kids to save the older guys and gals. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm only speaking for myself. I will tell you for myself for sure, and I believe for the vast majority of people out there, if you had to gamble on some harm coming to your niece, nephew, son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, or yourself, you would say, let me gamble. I know I would, without hesitation. Yet we've done exactly the opposite. Shame on us as a society. Shame on us. This is the New York Times saying this. This isn't the New York Post. This is the New York Times saying this is CNN. Finally, it took them 2 years to hear what I was saying 2 years ago. They're listening to it now. Finally.
Included in statistics cited by its author, David Leonhardt, among 3rd through 8th graders, math and reading levels were all lower than normal this fall, according to NWEA, a research group. The shortfalls were largest for Black and Hispanic students, as well as students in schools with high poverty rates.
So we were so busy worried about equity, so busy worried about making sure all our Black and Hispanic kids learn better, that we screwed them all over without even thinking. What am I thinking? Yeah, who cares? Let's lock it all down. And you know what happened the second we started locking things down? People started packing up and leaving. We saw our elites having our cool dinners, out there leaving, right? Here's what I'll give the right on this one. I'll give the right this. The right was honest. The right was like, I don't care about this. I'm gonna party. All right. They just went and partied. The left said, oh, we can't party. You guys gotta be locked down. Then they went and partied. At least in this one, the right was honest. They were both partying while the poor people suffered. But at least the right was like, we're just doing it. The left was like, no, we're with you. And then went and did the same thing the right did. All the elites left. They left the cities. They left the poor areas. They didn't stay here doing all that garbage. They left. And they let the poor people sit here and suffer. And said, oh, we care about you. Lockdown. And they left. AOC was just hanging out in Florida, having a good old time. They all pack up and leave. I know, I live in this city. Sadly, I'm still here. I'm the sucker who's still here. But the rest of them packed up and they left. And the Black and Hispanic communities, they got stuck right here, not going to school, not learning. They were already in trouble. Now they're in worse trouble. Because you care? I'm not sure that's true.
On top of that, the non-academic aspects of school, lunch period, extracurriculars, sports, assemblies, plays, trips, they've all been curtailed or eliminated. I'm worried about kids being educated remotely and losing out on a whole host of social dynamics, what you can't get in the...
Hold on. Now, I'm actually not concerned necessarily about kids learning remotely or at home. What I'm concerned about is that our communities don't have a recent history of doing that. Most communities in America, not all obviously, there's some who are very good at this, but the vast majority, particularly urban communities, don't know how to deal with kids at home and learning remotely. It hasn't been in their world literally in generations. The institutional knowledge of their community, it's gone, which is why I'm always talking about allowing people to spend their time, if they want to, homeschooling their kids, teaching their kids. Because now when this kind of thing happens, the community can absorb it. The community can bring the kids and go, no, we got you. We're doing this already. Let's go. Remember all those homeschool parents that people laughed at? Yeah, these crazy homeschool parents. They're so crazy and so dumb. Remember that? Now you're like, hey, can you help? They don't look so dumb anymore, do they? They look really smart now. Yeah. Well, you know what? We should have had a whole lot more homeschool, community school environments so that when this type of thing happens, the community can absorb them. They're like, I got you. I've been doing this for years. Come on in. We didn't do that. You hear me say all the time, when you add government, you remove community. That's by default. We just add more government, destroying community. Now, when government fails, there's no community to back it up. People need services. People get in trouble. People need help. It's human nature. You fall down, you screw up, you get divorced, your kid gets sick. Stuff happens to all of us. I'm not saying we need help. I'm saying I need community answers. And community can't answer when it doesn't know how to answer. That's the problem. We have to begin to fix this. This should not have happened this way. That's what I talked about 2 years ago.
The remote world are the life lessons, the human interaction, the forging of relationships. And then there are the slightly older members of what Dr. Jean Twenge calls iGen. The ones who graduated from high school or college without the pomp and circumstance of a traditional commencement ceremony.
Ceremony matters.
The ones that have missed out on social interactions that I mentioned and benefited from, riding the yellow school bus. Jockeying for certain lunch tables in the cafeteria, playing after-school sports.
Yes, learning how to interact with people.
Many are now beginning their first jobs, but without the close contact and mentorship of a colleague or on-site supervision of a boss.
100%.
They too are missing out. Losing the nuance that no Zoom or email or text can provide.
How do you talk?
Having participated in countless online meetings in the past 2 years, I know I'm a different person when things are being recorded. More stilted, less natural. And yes, sometimes that's a good thing.
Usually
but it's not a fair reflection of a real back and forth.
Correct.
They're deprived of on-the-job collaborative efforts, not to mention the camaraderie of social time with coworkers.
Yes.
When I first began practicing law, I learned more from watching colleagues try cases than I did from sitting in lecture halls for 3 years in law school.
Yes.
Work habits are not being fully formed remotely. Somebody needs to tell today's new hires what it means to be on the clock.
Yes.
That bro and dude are inappropriate ways to communicate with a superior. And sometimes you just have to say yes, suck it up, and get the job done.
What? Work ethic. When I was running in 2018, that's all I spoke about. Changing schools to where kids start getting a work ethic at 16, 17, 18 years old. By the time they get into the workforce, they understand. They know that when your boss says be here at 9, that doesn't mean 10:30. That means 8:45. But how can they learn that when no one is there to show them or teach them? As those social pressure make that happen. No one teaches them this, and then we get mad at them. We, meaning us as a nation, have created this terrible environment, and now the kids act terribly. We've taught them to act this way, and we wonder why they act this way, because our society has taught them to do so. So how about we change that? He's right. I've been saying this for literally 4 years. I've been saying the same thing. Finally, CNN is saying it. I hope people begin to understand it. This matters. This matters. Sometimes you just got to do your job. I know that sounds crazy to some of you, like, Larry, duh. No, ask bosses now. Sometimes the youth is like, nah, I don't feel like it. And they want to go and watch TV. How old am I to say that? They want to go and watch YouTube. Sorry, Twitch. They don't want to watch TV. None of the kids want to watch TV. But they all want to go do that. They all want to just go and do their own thing and don't care what the consequences are. And they want to call you watch the YouTubers a lot. I see them all the time. The youngsters, 18, 19, 20, 22, acting like they know the world. Oh, they know it all, and insulting everyone who's older than them. And it's fine, you can, but now it's public. Now you want to get a job. You want to get a job. Why just watch YouTube page? You called everybody over 40 an ass. Huh, I'm over 40. Good luck paying your bills. I mean, that's the kind that's happening now. He's on the money.
These elementary students in Chicago who missed this past week of school, the high school and college students who have missed social and sports and academic milestones, and the new hires who are not picking up normal work practices while remote in their living rooms. They are all COVID kids.
Yep.
And they are not all right. And anytime that society is contemplating a response to COVID, their needs need to be prioritized.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, and yes. This is what I was talking about literally months ago. I'm glad people are finally understanding it and maybe finally hearing it. Insane. And I'll take your questions and stuff. We'll do some AMA. I just want to bring that up to you because two things. One, it's what I've been talking about for years. And two, that was CNN and the New York Times. That wasn't, I don't know, the Epoch Times and Fox News. It wasn't that. It was CNN and the New York Times. Something's happening, I hope. So, yes, let me grab some stuff. Dave says, since it's Ask Me Anything, and since you are Eastern Orthodox, when is St. Nicholas Shrine near Ground Zero scheduled to open in New York City? Am I now supposed to know the opening of every Orthodox church in New York City? I'm sorry, my friend, I actually don't know. We don't go to the St. Nicholas Shrine. In Ground Zero is in Manhattan, right? I live in Queens. And you might go, Larry, it's the same city. It is. But we're a city of 8.5 million people. The only one I've gone to in Manhattan is St. Barbara's Church, and that's in Chinatown. That's been open for a while. That's a very small local Orthodox church. And the reason why we went there actually is because my daughter's name is Barbara. So we had her baptized in St. Barbara's Church. So yes, that's how I know St. Barbara's Church in Chinatown. We here go to St. Nicholas here. So in St. Catherine's. So that's here in Astoria. So in Queens, we don't go to that one. Sorry about that. Sorry, St. Nicholas is in Whitestone? Jesus. Is it Whitestone? St. Nicholas is not here. Sorry, St. Catherine's is here. St. Nicholas is in, I think, Whitestone. Now they're gonna be mad at me. I've forgotten. It's Northern Boulevard. Where I think it's Whitestone. Anyway, they're gonna get mad at me for saying that. Sorry. So yes, I should know where that is, but I actually forgotten exactly what area that is. It's in Queens. So yes. So John says, need to bring back Crossfire with some decent hosts. It's not a bad idea. It's not bad. Yes. Alexander says, everybody watching needs to smash that like button. He's right. You all look, everyone watching, click the button, either like or hate or whatever. I don't care. Click a button. He's not joking. I get shadow banned like there's no tomorrow. You got to help me. Click those damn buttons. I don't care which one you click. You hate what you're watching, hit dislike. I don't care. But click a button. It does matter. Please. Absolutely. Pete, on time. 29 trillion, 712 billion, 206 million, 809,000. $284.68. National debt. Thank you. Yes. John says all the news channels down in ratings since Trump left office. This is true, John. CNN gambled, and it wasn't a good gamble for them. I guess in the short run it was, if you care about short run. CNN gambled in becoming the anti-Trump channel. And for a while it was working, right? And then it became the COVID's going to kill you channel. That worked for a while too. COVID's going to kill you channel was actually a better bet for them because that's more newsy, if that makes any sense, right? Trump isn't newsy. Trump was political chatter, which is much better done on MSNBC and Fox. CNN's not good at it. It's not. CNN tries to be too. CNN acts like they're above the fray. Fox and MSNBC, they're in the fray, right? And that's why people can watch those channels versus CNN. Fox and they're in the fray. Fox and MSNBC will literally show each other's shows on each other's channels to attack each other. If you ever watch, you'll see Fox will show MSNBC people and attack them. MSNBC will show Fox people and attack them. So they're in the fray. CNN tries to act like, oh no, we're above and we're so smart and so whatever. They're terrible. So I think you're right. It was a gamble that they took. I think they lost. They should have gone back to straight news. So yes. David says CNN already has a streaming feature. Chris Wallace was being on that channel. And that was desperation for CNN. I think them grabbing Chris Wallace was a smart move. Maybe not smart. Was a good gamble is what I'll say. It was a good gamble because even Fox is struggling. Fox Nation's, I'm sorry, not Fox News. Fox News is still doing well, relatively compared to the other channels. But Fox Nation is not doing very well. Not many people are rushing to Fox Nation. So what they've been doing, what Fox has done well, is they push Fox Nation on all the Fox shows, knowing that Fox News is going to start to go down just because people aren't watching TV anymore. So they've been trying to shove everybody to Fox Nation to be able to watch. They've been actually pretty good at that. MSNBC has not been good at that. What MSNBC has done is just given everyone else their own personalities. So it's kind of a different style than Fox News is. CNN is not doing a good job at this at all. So they're trying to do things like do Chris Wallace and make more newsy shows. That's why I think my gut is CNN will turn into an actual news channel. Just can't do anything else well. MSNBC will still be the woke channel, and they're good at it. I mean, I'm not a fan, but their base likes them, right? They're good. They found their niche, and they're good at their niche. So I think it's going to work for them. I don't see CNN working. I'm sorry, I'm off topic. I hope that was clear. So yes. Alexander says, I stay away from corporate media. Lately, breaking points has become my source of news. I think I would, but I kind of have to. I have to watch corporate media because corporate media lets me know kind of where the world is going and what the average voter is thinking. Breaking Points is not bad, but a lot of people watch Breaking Points don't vote. If that makes any sense, right? The people who are watching Fox and MSNBC and CNN, they vote. Breaking Points people get mad and yell and then don't vote. So I also need to know who's voting, if that makes any sense. So I like Breaking Points, but not against it. I like Breaking Points. I still watch The Hill. It's nice. I like them all. But I have to be more concerned about people who are voting, if that makes any sense. So while I do like Breaking Points, I like The Hill. They're all good stuff. Rising is nice. All good. I have to spend some time every night watching corporate media because those are people who vote. So I guess you see why I'm talking about that. Yes. So, all righty. Let's see here. Chad says, super angry now at Dr. Fauci and the medical scientific professionals who are saying that half the people hospitalized with COVID are actually not in the hospital for COVID. This was a conspiracy theory a year ago. See, Chad, this is the part that bothers me tremendously. If you hear, sometimes I try to give you nuance because they weren't technically wrong, but they were misleading. They were saying all the kids in the hospital with COVID. That was the words they used, with COVID. And you put it there, hospitalized with COVID. Yes, but not for COVID. The problem is now once you go to the hospital, you get a COVID test. So my kid falls off his bike. He sprains his wrist. I'm a scared parent. I bring him to the hospital. They check his wrist. They give him a little cast. He'll be fine. Check him for COVID. Hey, by the way, mom, dad, your kid's positive for COVID. Oh, he is? We didn't even know. Yeah, most kids don't have any symptoms. He's positive. He'll be fine. He goes home. That counts as in the hospital with COVID. But the fear mongers, people who are afraid, not fear mongers, the people who've been hearing the fear mongers, they hear in the hospital for COVID. But that's not really true. So that's not lying when they said with COVID. That's a true statement. It's just heavily misleading. All these cases. Yeah, because you've got everybody going to get tested now because they have to. They can't go to work unless they either have a test or have the vaccine. So you have to get tested now. We're getting more tests, so you're getting more cases. Those cases would have gone away with no symptoms. But now they're getting tested for everything. Plus, if you get tested, you don't have to go to work. There are people getting tested so they can scam 5 days of work. I'm not joking. That's happening. If you're watching, you know it. You're probably doing this while you're watching my show because you were scamming for 5 days on COVID. Yes, happening all the time. So, yes, I'm with you, Chad. If you watched Fox News Sunday, I probably should pull that clip out. Maybe I will. Brett Baer was just hammering the CDC chief. And she was flubbing. But I was very happy. I was thoroughly impressed with this weekend shows. I got to tell you, Smirkanish was being open. Brett Baer, Fox News was bringing on lefties left and right and talking, having real conversations. I was like, whoa, this is good stuff. It wasn't just, hi, this stuff sucks. Let me bring on a guy who also thinks this stuff sucks. What's your reaction? This stuff sucks. I know. Segment done. It wasn't that. It was actually people going back and forth. It was good. So I think she had to come clean too. I predicted this a year ago when I was at Freedom Fest, not a year ago, 6 months ago, when I was at Freedom Fest last July. I said, by this coming July, this summer, things will be a whole lot better, meaning a lot of this stuff will begin to go away. People said, why? I said, at one point, we just get tired of it and we just stop doing it. It just doesn't work anymore. At one point, it doesn't work anymore. And I hope that time is coming. I hope that prediction will be correct. And I hope by the summer of this year, we'll just be like, well, it's endemic, whatever. But here's what's going to happen too, by the way. When this ends, I think in the summer, what's going to happen is you're going to see two things. Data pop up that is going to be skewed to show all of the states who did not lock down as somehow being worse. And this is who did lock down as saving the world. I don't know how they can do it yet, but there's actuaries right now, I'm sure, in some room or rooms somewhere now, figuring out how do we spin this data to show that, see, the lockdown saved us all, and the people who didn't, they were careless and bad and evil, and the lockdown states save the world, right? So they're going to crush us for 2 years and then claim victory and then claim they are the saviors, and it would have been worse without them. I don't know how that's going to work yet, Chad. The details, how would I know? But here, that's my prediction. This summer, the stuff goes away, and all the lockdown people will claim it was all because of them, and that we'd all be dead without them. That's my prediction. What will happen this summer? And if the American people believe that, the Democrats will do pretty decently in 2022 compared to what they were going to do. If they don't believe that, they're going to get hammered. And I don't know what America's going to believe. We have believed some great stuff and some bad stuff. I don't know what we're going to believe. Depends on how well they spin it and who listens. Hopefully listening to me, but we'll see. Anyway, so yes. William says, if we are defunding the police, we should also be defunding the Board of Ed, homeschool, government indoctrination camps. Homeschool's better than government indoctrination camps. Okay, two parts of that. One, yes, homeschool is better than government indoctrination camps. True. How do I know? I'm homeschooling my kid now. And I never thought I'd do that. I never thought I'd be homeschooling my kid. I never did. But I am. And it's because her school became a prison. You may remember the story I told when I pulled her out. In her school here in Queens, as she got onto the sidewalk of the school, and for those who don't know how it works in most areas in New York City, the school tends to be is a massively tall building. Usually it's a tall building. And it's tall, 5 to 6 stories high, usually brick old building is most schools or more in New York City. It's a common thing where schools are a tall building. So that building, in the case in Queens here, is one block. It's the whole block is the one school building in Queens when my daughter used to go to school. And she stepped onto the sidewalk, and there were teachers hanging outside the door with mask on, pointing for her to put a mask on. She had to put her mask on the second she stepped on the school property, on the sidewalk. So I had to put it on. Other yell at her. So she puts it on. Can't talk to your friends. Gotta go right into school. Go into school, in the hallway, 3 feet apart. Can't talk. Can't talk. Right? In classroom, 3 feet away, desks, mask on the whole day mask on the whole day, and no recess, because you might talk to your friends, get your mask off. No recess. I'm not joking. No recess. And lunchtime, sit alphabetical order, because you don't be next to your friends, because you might talk. So alphabetical order, and half of them sit against the wall while the other half eat, then they swap out. Prisoners have more freedom than my daughter had. And I said, I'm not keeping my daughter in prison. I love my daughter. You're not going to prison. Out of prison you go. So I broke her out of prison, and her friends are all jealous. How'd you get out of prison? So yes, I got out of prison. Way better than the horrible camps that they have made school in New York City. Now, I don't know if your area is as bad. That's my area. It's embarrassingly bad. I would never put my kid back in that school again. I'm not putting my daughter in prison. I love my daughter. Wouldn't do it. So that's what I did. But New York City really isn't defunding the police. It kind of is, but kind of isn't. It's really a scam on how they're doing it. And I don't know if they're defunding the police really. If I'd rather them get rid of the border regents in New York State. Way better. I agree with you. No fight there. So yes. Alexander says, Larry, what would be your idea of school choice plan, vouchers, etc.? No, I've already brought this up. I don't even bring up school choice. I don't even bring up vouchers. Because the second you bring that up, people fight you. And there's a million reasons it doesn't work. Vouchers and school choice validate the crap system. So that's why I'm against both of them. Right? It validates a garbage system. The system in New York State is garbage. I will tell anybody that. Our education system in New York State is a steaming pile of shit. It just is. I'm not going to sit there and kiss everyone's butt and go, oh, it's so nice. Because no, it sucks. It's garbage. Utter garbage. We would be better off if everybody quit and we'd rebuild the whole thing tomorrow. That's how bad it is. How do I know that? We dropped now, I think it's $29,000 per kid. I think it was 26 a while ago. 22 in certain areas, but like average like 26,000. I think now it averages 28,000. $28,000 per year per kid. And we usually rank in the bottom 25 of the 50 states. That's how bad my system is. There are certain areas, I think Rochester is some of the worst in New York State, where if you're a black male, the odds of you graduating is about 10%. Yes, that's our current school system. It's a steaming pile of shit. So no school choice, no vouchers. Reboot the entire thing with my K through 10 plan. It is a reboot. Our system's garbage. But Larry, you might lose a year of kids. We just lost 2 years of this COVID stupidity, and we've been losing generations. No school choice, no vouchers, reboot, K through 10 plan, supporting private schools and homeschooling. That is the answer. Everything else is garbage. It's somehow trying to sprinkle nice dust on a pile of shit. It's still a pile of shit. Looks nicer because you sprinkled some sprinkly dust on it, but it's garbage. Garbage. I'm sorry. It's my baby. I believe it. It's got to change. It's a terrible system. The whole thing's got to be rebooted. And we've got to fire at least half of our administrators. I mean, gone. If you're an administrator in New York City, state, and you're not essential, you probably shouldn't vote for me because you're getting fired. Plain truth. Keep voting Democrat because voting for me is probably dumb. You can get fired. Just saying. Anyway, hope that was clear. You got me going. I said, it's your fault, Alexander. You got me going. So your fault. So yes. I want to see if I can do this here. Let's see here. Robert says teachers unions are not about teaching and these are the students, period. I would agree. I think you're right. Avi says, Larry, did you see Queen Hochul's monstrosity of a mandate that blacks, Latinos, and other marginalized groups will get priority for antibody treatments? She basically told healthy white people to not even bother trying to seek these treatments. Can't wait for a scandal to break out that Hochul or some wealthy white people in New York will pay to get ahead of the line. Hitler and Mengele would definitely approve this physician policy. Oh, stop. Come on. You're going a little too far. Don't go down that. Don't go to Godwin's law. Absolutely appalling. It is, but it isn't, Avi. Let me be forward again, as I always am. This is her base. Her base wants to hear that, right? She's kowtowing to her base. Her base wants to hear that, right? So if you're wealthy, you get what you want. That's the point, right? If you're wealthy, you don't care. This sounds great if you're wealthy. Whether you're white or not, what do you care? It's wealthy. Yeah, I'm wealthy. I don't care. I'm going to get what I want. If I'm wealthy, who cares? I'll go to where I want to go. I'll write a check or swipe my credit card. I'll get what I want. And you poor people can just do whatever you poor people do, whatever that is. That's literally how they think. This is a piece I want to bring up. I think it's kind of funny. Most people are mad. Let me say this, if I can say this more effectively, if I can. There are so many people, too many people, who are in a bad spot or who are poor or not doing well, and they blame the wealthy. They get mad at them. The wealthy hate us. The wealthy hate us. The wealthy don't hate us. I wish I was wealthy. The wealthy don't hate us. The wealthy don't care about us. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. You go, well, that's still bad. It is bad. The wealthy should care about us, but they don't. They don't have to. They should. They don't have to. The wealthy don't hate us. They just don't care about us. The politicians actually hate us. I'm not joking. I'm very serious. The politicians actually hate us. Why? Because they're beholden to us. They have to pretend to like us. They have to pretend to kiss our butt. They've got to do that stuff so they can get votes from us. The wealthy don't. They don't care about us. They're like whatevs. The wealthy don't care if we get good health insurance or not. As long as they get it, they don't care. If you get it, good. You don't get it, good. They don't care. Now, we get mad at them. They hate us. They don't. If we can create an environment to where they still get what they want and we get what we want, they're fine. They don't care about us. But the politicians actually hate us. And you think I'm making that up? Talk to some politicians. I have. They hate us. They literally hate us. Of course they want us to suffer. They don't like us. We're in their way of power grabbing. That's where they go in for a couple of years, make millions of dollars, screw us over, and then go away and stay millionaires. That's what they do. In some cases, billionaires. Yes. So to be forward, the wealthy don't care either way, Avi. It doesn't matter to them either way. If we had a good system where everybody could get cool stuff, well, it goes, fine. As long as I get my cool stuff, I don't care what you guys get. It's fine. But divide and conquer is how the politicians win. As long as they can keep dividing and conquering and dividing us, keep us fighting each other, and this is one way, by racial group, by class group, by insert thing group, whatever it is, by vaccinated versus unvaccinated, as long as they can keep making us into groups and dividing us, we fight each other and they keep winning. The system never changes. The wealthy just don't care as long as they get what they want. Half of them don't even live in a country anymore. They live in other parts. They live all over the place. They don't care. I don't mean to be mean about this. I'm just being forward. I know some of these wealthy people. They don't care. Dan says, is it just me or did CNN attempt to have an independent streak in 2016? It's like most of the coverage of Gary Johnson and Bill Weld came on CNN. Same with the Chicago Tribune that actually endorsed Gary Johnson for president. Dan, I think what happened there is, if you remember, I've said this before, the debates and all those things, they're not about whether we learn something or if it's fair. It's about one thing only, ad revenue. That's all it's about. It's about ad revenue. They make a killing every time those debates go on. People watch debates. They make tons of ad revenue. That's all they care about. The attempts with CNN and Gary Johnson was not because they loved Gary Johnson. I happen to love Gary Johnson, but CNN doesn't. This was simply an attempt to see if it would raise money, if people would watch, if it was interesting. It was their way of testing to raise money. CNN was hoping that the goal was, can we be like a third party thing, right? If MSNBC will be the left and Fox will be the right, can we be this kind of middle of the ground thing? As they tried. It didn't work. People weren't rushing to see Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. I wish they were. I would have been great. I would have watched. I did watch. I wish more people would have watched. People didn't care. So CNN went, oh, that doesn't work. Next. You know what they did next? Remember this? They started doing individual town halls with every Democratic nominee. Remember that? Another test. This was to see who can raise the most money, meaning their ad revenue money, so they could decide who was going to be on the debate stage. So the whole thing was about ad revenue. That was the key. It wasn't like they were trying to be independent. They were trying to see if that would work to raise more ad revenue. The hope was, at that point, can they be this third party or neutral type of organization to be in between, to find a lane in between Fox and MSNBC? It didn't work, so they just went, Trump evil. And that worked for a couple years. It did. I mean, some of you who like Trump will be mad when you hear that, but as far as CNN's concerned, they made some money being Trump's evil, and that was their goal. So I hope that answers your question. So James says, I just watched Andrew Yang's podcast of the weekend where he all but announced he's running for president. What are your thoughts and how would it affect the Libertarian Party? It's a good question. I think if Andrew Yang runs for president, that will be awesome for us in general. Why? Any popular third party person is going to be good for us. In whether he runs Libertarian or Green or Forward or whatever he runs, my assumption is he'll run Forward Party because that's his party. It's my assumption. So it will be good for us. Why? As long as he does stay true to what he's been saying. And what he's been saying is third parties matter. So if he stays true to that, it will be good for us because he'll get more attention on all the third parties to include Libertarian Party. So I think if he does run, I'm assuming he'll run as a Forward Party guy. I'm assuming that. If he stays as popular as he is, and he's become more and more popular, if he does that, then my assumption is that will support all the third parties to include Green, to include Libertarian, to include Constitution, to include all of the parties. It should be good for all of us. Whenever you have somebody popular running as a third party, it makes all third parties more popular, right? Jill Stein was more popular because of Gary Johnson. I know it sounds silly, but it was. That's what happened because people knew Gary Johnson was going to have some impact in 2016. They didn't know what it was going to be. Obviously, I wish it was more, but they were afraid of him. So they're talking about Jill Stein because they preferred Jill Stein over Gary Johnson. Most of the mainstream media did. So they were talking about her, not as much him, but also him. So if Yang does run, it will help us in the long run, without question. I hope that was clear. So let's see here. Robert says, but we know out of the 0.1% cases, let's not forget children are at a minute risk. It's true. None of them went to the hospital for COVID. They went to the hospital with COVID, not for. Absolutely. So, all righty. Is it Maria? Maria? Ooh, I hope I'm saying it wrong. Maria? I hate to bring this up. Why? Ask me anything. But you had mentioned something regarding running on the R ticket a few months ago. Was that an option? It still is, yes. The issue that we have is we don't know if the Republican Party is going to actually have, in New York State, is actually going to have a primary or not. The Republican leadership in this state does not want a primary. They're like, nope, take our guy, shut up, take him, and when he loses, be happy we gave you anybody. That's what they are now. But there's a lot of pressure for them to actually have a primary. I don't know if they will. If they have a primary, I hope to be in it. So I'm hoping to run the Republican primary. Now you might go, Larry, you running as Republican? No. I'm a Libertarian. I will run as Libertarian. But in New York State, we have what's called fusion voting, which means you can actually be on multiple lines in New York State. It's very special. I know, crazy New York. It works in New York State. It's common in New York State. It is not common in any other state. We are the only state who does this as a regular thing. It's what we do. I know, odd, but it's New York State, special. So I could actually run as a Libertarian and then win the Republican primary and also be Republican. I could be listed twice on the ballot and all of the votes together count. So yes, that is still open. I have to make sure that me and others also who are trying to convince the Republican leadership to actually do a primary. Remember something, we don't have a functioning democracy. Most people think we do. We don't. The parties run everything. We have virtually no power. So if the parties decide there's no primary, then there's no primary. Go to hell. I don't care what you want. That's how it actually works. I wish it didn't work that way. That's how it works. If they decide that there's no primary, oh, well, shut up. Take who we give you. And because of gerrymandering, that's who wins. So shut up. If things go the way the Republicans and Democrats want it right now, here's what will happen if they get what they want. There'll be no other parties but Republican and Democrat. That's all. Republicans will give you some sacrificial lamb like they did last time. That person will be a he. He'll lose. And Kathy Hochul's next governor. That's what both sides actually want. You might go, Larry, there's no way Republicans want that. That's exactly what the Republican establishment wants. The Republican people in New York State do not want that at all. Republican leadership in New York State absolutely wants that. They want the status quo. They can keep their cheesy jobs. They can go keep everything going the way they have it right now. That's what all the Republican leadership wants. Exactly that. If you think I'm making that up, please show me any evidence that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love for you to make me an idiot right here. That'd be awesome. If you can show me some evidence, I'll show it here and I'll go, wow, I am 100% wrong. Happily, because then I get to be in the primary. So I hope I'm wrong on this one, but that's what they want right now. So I know, wow, I'm giving you guys some bad news here or there. I apologize. So yes. The scientific libertarian says, if our education system isn't broke, then explain Space Jam 2. Check and mate. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Let's see. Georgia says ventilation in school means opening the windows in the winter and the students sit in their coats and gloves in these classrooms. She's not joking. That's true. Yes, we need ventilation. So the students now can't go to their lockers, because if you go to your lockers, you might, hang around your locker and talk. You can't do that because you might die of COVID. Yes, that's really what's happening in New York City schools. So you have to carry all your stuff with you. The kids all day carry their coat, carry all their books, because they can't go to lockers because COVID. This is true. Some of you who don't live in New York are like, what are you guys, insane? Yes, we are insane. Yes, we are insane. That's correct. So they're carrying all their books, carrying everything, and then ventilate. They open the windows, so you're in the classroom with it was snowing here 2 days ago. So the cold air comes in to ventilate because COVID, and they're in their coats and gloves in school. I'm not joking. That's a real thing. That is how broken this state is. When I said this school system is a steaming pile of shit, that's what it is. We should be ashamed of it. We should all be just walking away from it. It's embarrassingly bad. I hate to tell you that, because some of you who are not in New York are like, he's making this up. Why would I make this up? They write this for me. I don't have to make it up. They write this for me. Yes. So, all right, let me keep going down here if I can. All righty. Let's see here. Mari, I hope I'm saying it right now. Marie, God, I'm screwing it up. I'm sorry. M. Young. I have COVID with symptoms. And my doctor told me I wasn't in the candidate pool. I'm vaccinated. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, right. Got it. For the cool stuff. Gotcha. Yeah. I guess you just got to get punished, I guess. That'll teach you what sin. I don't know from what sin, but yes, I'm not sure. John Mayer says, Larry for governor of New York. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And by the way, guys, if you actually care, do me a favor, like, comment, and share. If I'm making sense, if you like it, share this with your friends. Let them see it. As I tell you every single time, because it is frustrating for me and my team, we are horribly shadow banned. Facebook and YouTube hate us. And I mean, they just their algorithms destroy us. They crush us like there's no tomorrow. So please help out. Every time you share and like, it does matter. Please do it as much as you possibly can. And if you want to keep supporting the show, do me a favor. Go to libertarianism.com. You saw I did a little show on this. I explained how it works. Some of the videos you go through talks about happiness and anger and violence and government and all the things that I talk about. It's a great way to understand what libertarianism actually is about. It is actually about the pursuit of happiness. You've heard me say this for literally 5 years from now. Libertarianism.com. Libertarianism.com gets what I'm talking about. They're talking about the happiness that I'm talking about. They get it. Please go there. If you've gone and done some cool stuff, do me a favor. Share that link. The link right there, the link that's in the description, share that link and get other people to see it. It does matter, right? It's free. All free, unless you want to buy some cool merch. Please, if you want to buy some cool merch, buy some cool merch. But that's not required, right? That is not required whatsoever. Head over there, libertarianism.com, share it around, let people see it. They'll understand what libertarianism is. It does matter. They support the show. It's why I want them as a sponsor. Please do that. And of course, always like, comment, and share. Click that button. If you haven't clicked on, if you haven't smashed that like button, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Smash it now. If you haven't, do it now. Right now. Click it now if you haven't. If you hate it, click the thumbs down button. I don't care. Whatever. Click a button. It matters. Anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Let me keep going here. All right. All right. Let's see here. John says, I think he cuts into the Bernie/Warren Democrats, not really people who would lean to libertarianism. At the core of Yang's dogma is more government. Is the solution the complete opposite of libertarianism, where we believe less government is a solution. Yes and no. There are Yang has 3 different constituents. 3. One of them is what you talked about, kind of Bernie Warren Democrats. That's one chunk. But there are 2 more chunks he has. And the other chunk he has is just people who want a rebel, right? Something that Trump got a lot of in 2016. And Bernie did too in 2016. The people who just want a rebel. I bring this up often. There were a lot of Bernie bros, or is that what you call them now? Is that the right term? From 2016, who once Bernie got booted by the Democratic Party, a good chunk, maybe a third or so, went to Trump. You would say, wait a minute. How in the world could someone who supported Bernie go support Trump? Because a chunk of the people who supported Bernie didn't care about his policies, couldn't have told you what his policies were. They just saw him as a rebel to Clinton, right? They just said he's a rebel. And I want a rebel. And then when Bernie went away, they went, there's Trump guy. That's a rebel. And it went for him. So that group of people, I don't know how big that group is. That group would also go to Yang as just a rebel group, right? So that a chunk of that will also go. Here's the other part. The kind of technocrat types who just want a solution and believe in solutions, they might go to him too. So I think it isn't just that. It is that, but there's like 2 other groups that I think would also come to someone like Yang in that regard. Yang isn't. Most people who support Yang aren't actually big government people. They are people who want solutions, and they now believe that the only solution, to your point, is more government. If we can show them solutions without big government, many of them will come to us. The key is there's a chunk that just want solutions, and they know the top 2 parties are not going to do it, so they'll see him as a popular guy who might. I think there are many different ways. It isn't just one group. So I guess what I'm saying with you is yes and. That makes any sense. Yes and. So, all right, let's see if I can grab a couple more here. All right. Let's see here. Michael says, smart people are less obedient and less likely to sacrifice freedom for safety. They want us dumb and obedient and afraid. That's not true, Michael. I know that sounds right, but there's data that shows that's actually not true. Smarter people tend to actually be more obedient. I'm not joking. They tend to be more obedient. And the example that is given often, and it's a good example of this, is smart people. I have to go to a certain point here to be clearer. Very smart people. How about that? People who are demonstrably not wise. There's a difference between wise and smart. Smart people, meaning people who have high IQs, right? They aren't always the wisest, but they are smart, have high IQs, are more susceptible to things like cults and things like that than people who aren't so much. If you look at the average IQ of cult members versus the average IQ of the average American, the average IQ of cult members, far higher. Far higher. So that's not actually true. I think the word you're looking for is savvy or wise. Savvy people, wise people are less obedient. Smart people are more obedient. The Democratic Party is full of very smart people. Just tell you the truth. Very smart people. Very obedient too. So, just telling you what the reality, Michael. Don't be mad at me. I'm the messenger. Let's see here. Let's see. Avi says the absolute arrogance of these people. Yes, you've just, Avi, it's like you're reading my mind. That's my point. The smart person is also arrogant. So, of course, whatever they think is right, because they're smarter than you, Avi. See? I'm smarter than you. So whatever I think is clearly right, and whatever you think is clearly not right. That's my point from Michael, right? That's my point from Michael. They think they should stay home, nice and cozy, while Amazon delivery drivers, grocery store workers, maintenance workers, and others that don't have the luxury to work from home should be out grinding. Yes. Yes. They sit pretty and don't stay home anyway, gallivanting on luxury vacations, while we, the people, okay. Yes. While we who live the physical world keep the lights on. It's true. Yes. Yes, very true. Yes. So Jonathan says, how is the puppy doing? Well, thank you for asking, my friend. My puppy is now, 8 months old? 9 months old? And now has gone from 4 pounds when we got him, which is basically like a big rat. He's now like 12, 13 pounds. So he's a bigger pooch now, which is good. I wanted a really big dog. I like big dogs. This is my 4th dog that I've had, and usually my dogs are bigger, but I've got 2 little girls. They like little dogs. My wife likes little dogs. So we got a little dog. So he's about 12 or 13 pounds now, doing very well. Very frisky, fun, likes going outside, likes staying in the house. All good. So yes, absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Pete says, and the Department of Education. All right. Let me give you my view on this one. So many libertarians always say end. And there are certain things I will absolutely end, like the Board of Regents needs to go away immediately, like the next day. If I'm governor, the next day, Board of Regents needs to be just gone. But do you want to keep a Department of Education? All right. Hear me out before you yell at me, Pete. Hear me out. No, I don't want to keep one. However, how does the state react if I just abolish it? They would react like the world's ending. You can see it already. You see it happening now with COVID. COVID has shown us, particularly in New York State, that, my God, we love government. It's just a fact. New Yorkers just, as a state, obviously not me and you, Pete, but as a state, we love government. We just do. We look upon it. We worship it. We want it to help us. To abolish DOE is a big deal. What I would rather do is remove all the teeth so that it basically becomes a repository for information and a place to go for data and ideas. That if school districts want it, they can purchase from it, and it becomes a voluntary entity. That's a much better place for it to go, because then it still exists. And New Yorkers don't go crazy and they go, what? My kids are going to be stupid now. No, it exists. It just can't punish anybody. So I'd rather make that happen, cutting the budget severely, probably 90%, and then having it have to make its own money, right? So it has to provide value that school districts are happy to pay for. So it must create its own value. How does it do that? I don't know. I don't have to know. That's its job to figure out what. If it doesn't know how to produce value, why the hell do we have it? And if it doesn't know, it'll go under its own. Hopefully, I hope it does know how to provide value. It should, after all the years it's been in existence. So if it does, then we're good. I hope that was clear. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Joel says, remember 2018 when so many people were commenting on New York political posts asking to look at Larry Sharpe. Dems and reps hated that. They called us Sharpies. We get to going again. I like that. Sharpies. I like that. Yeah, that's good. John says, was told today by employee that my role is being eliminated. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, John. Not to worry, though, because there are 100 new positions to apply to. Same job with vax requirement. Time to find a new job. You know, I feel so bad for people who are losing their jobs when they didn't want to lose their jobs. I'm glad, John, that you are in a positive frame of mind. It's a good thing, because when that stuff happens, you really just have to be able to bounce back, and clearly you're already about to do that. It's great. What I would ask you or anybody else who's getting laid off or fired from this, use this as a time or a chance to rethink your next 10 to 20 years. 10 years maybe is better. 10 to 20 years. Is it time for a new career or not? Maybe it is.Maybe it's not. But now's the time to start thinking about that. And is it time to change your lifestyle? Is it time now? Very often we always say, I'm gonna, right? I'm gonna. And then we never do, because life gets in our way and we never do the thing we were going to do. Well, now's your time, right? Fate has given you this opportunity. I would take that now. So I hope you find a job quickly, John. Craig, Oneida County stopped contact tracing because they can't keep up with the case surge. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Nate says Google roamed COVID declaration. 15,000 doctors saying leave kids alone. Yeah. Yes, leave kids alone. I agree. Yes. Pete says the government has caused Stockholm syndrome in a lot of people. St. Nicholas Shrine is at 288 East 10th Street, New York. Ah, there we go. Okay. Thank you, David. I didn't know that. So yes, there's more than one St. Nicholas church, though. That's a shrine. There's different churches. Yeah. St. Nicholas is a relatively common name for a Greek church. Relatively common. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Avi says, not a fan of the term corporate media. Corporate implies it's just about money. Their whole business model is failing and killing their ratings. If this is a business strategy, it's quite a lousy one. They are a cult dedicated to keeping the sheep hysterical. They are regime media. Ooh, regime media. Someone did, I forgot who was talking about that. Someone was calling CNN that. Is it regime media? Something like that. Saying that CNN is actually the regime media. CNN puts out whatever the current, whatever Biden wants them to put out. That's what they were saying. They were saying MSNBC doesn't do that, neither does Fox. So I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm not sure on this one. I mean, they are corporate media because most of their money is made. Most of the money in these stations is actually made from cable companies or satellite like Dish and Comcast. That's where most of their money's made from. And as those begin to walk away, and they're going into Roku and Disney Plus and that kind of thing, it's going to change. So it depends on where does CNN go. Does CNN jump on whatever, a Disney Plus station or a Hulu or something like that? Netflix, you get CNN on Netflix or something like that. That may be a model for them to follow, maybe, because then they get money from Netflix or money from Hulu, and it wouldn't matter if anybody watched it or not because people aren't watching it. So I don't know. I'm not sure on this one. I'm not sure on this one. So yes. All right. Medic Knight says, Larry said January is when we would see some polling. Any updates? Yes, we are doing polling. Yes, you should see some, I hope, by the end of the month. That is my hope by the end of the month. The problem is finding out who will do it, who will pay for it, all of those things. Yes. And it also takes time to get it done right. So it has to be done by a company that the mainstream media believes in. That's sad but true. In other words, if you had a marketing company, Mr. Knight, and it was a very savvy company, and you did a poll that was accurate, it wouldn't matter. The mainstream media wouldn't carry it unless it's from some of the big ones like Zogby, Sienna, those types. So we have to find those people who are willing to do it. So that becomes the next step. We're working on that now. So that should be happening. So thank you. Yes. All right. See if I can keep going here. Let's see here. Chaz says, my mom worked at Sarasota County Office of the Aging, working directly interviewing people asking for various types of aid. She'd watch news with which she disagreed just to see what potential clients would complain about the next day. Is that right? Wow. That's an interesting story. Thank you for that one. That's good. That's good. Yes. All right. Pete says they still think cloth mask works. No, they're not. No. If you hear them, always now they're saying you got to do this and wear a high quality mask. In fact, if you watched my governor, Pete, our governor, sadly our governor, Her Majesty Queen Kathy, she put the N95 mask on, and then she put her Buffalo Bills, cloth mask on. And see, you can just wear two masks. Our governor's wearing two masks, and she's triple vaxxed. Yeah. Crazy. Yes. But true. Nancy says torture. Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Dan says, wow, public schools in Missouri are nowhere near that bad. I'm spoiled living in a red state. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Chaz says, we need another Geneva Convention so we can declare canceling recess a war crime. I love that. Yes. Avi says, Larry, good on you for taking your daughter out of that concentration camp for school. Yes. Even the Nazis in the Soviets came up with a scheme that would not allow us to talk or breathe freely. Yeah. And it's all in the name of safety and concern for their welfare. Hitler and Stalin must be envious. They did not come up with a scam like this. I don't think they're envious. I hope not. Oh my God. All right. Yes. Alexander says, Larry, what will be the benefit of abolishing the New York Board of Regents? Curious because maybe I need to advocate for this in my state. The Board of Regents in New York State, basically what it does, it decides, how people graduate, what they graduate, and they come up with rules and regulations for the school districts. And there's no accountability. They're selected, and no one votes for them. So there's no accountability. We have the Board of Regents also deals with our state schools. Most of our state schools now are garbage also. I know you're going to be mad at when I say it. I don't care. SUNY and CUNY, not great. Sorry, guys. Some of you are going to be upset. Not great schools. They used to be. There was a time when SUNY and CUNY was the way that people would go there and we would love it. And it would be a way of getting people out of poverty. It'd be amazing. Now They're all just mediocre schools. And half the kids are going there because they're cheap, not because they're good, which of course, now you have students who don't care. You heard what our governor said. She goes, oh, we want to make our SUNY schools great by hiring the best instructors. She just insulted all the instructors. All our governor does is insult instructors. She says that all the teachers are bad. The system's garbage. They're teaching stuff that doesn't matter. They're teaching shit that no one's going to care about in 3 years from now. That's what's actually happening. They're giving them busy work and stuff that doesn't even matter. I've seen the curriculum. It's garbage. Garbage. I know I'm supposed to be like, oh, teachers, but I'm not. It is garbage. You know, your kids are going to CUNY and SUNY schools, coming out in debt and have no chance of a goddamn job. It didn't work. It doesn't work. So we have this thing in New York State, which talks about how to graduate high school. We have Regents diplomas. The Regents diploma in New York State is a colossal waste of time and money and energy. It should not exist. And I'm not joking. In high school, like you get a this kind of Regents diploma, that kind of Regents diploma. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And we said again, nobody cares. No. This has never happened in the history of the world. Hold on, check your resume here. Whoa, New York State Regents diploma. You're hired. Never happened ever. Never will happen. Nobody cares. Our board of regents is a colossal waste of time and money and energy. Again, garbage. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares what high school you even go to anymore. Unless, of course, there's always exceptions. There are elite high schools and elite colleges. Those matter because of the networking involved and the assumed group think that you have in those elite high schools and colleges. And that's always going to be the same. I'm talking about the average person going to high school. Your last year is a colossal waste of time, but they're taking AP classes. Nobody cares. No, never. This also has never happened. Check your resume. You took AP Science? You're hired. Never's happened ever. Nobody cares. This is stuff that we just keep telling our parents like it matters. It doesn't matter. It is useless. Most of the high school diplomas, useless. Most of the college diplomas are useless. You see it every day. All the kids do is complain. Why? They're right. Their college sucked. Yes. And they're $100,000 in debt. It's a colossal waste of money. Their parents paid for it. You're pissed off. Yes. The system's garbage. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. If I was a kid today, if I'm 18, 19 years old, unless you want to be a licensed professional, like you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, something like that, if you're going to go that route, go to school. That is absolutely the answer. Go. If you want to be in academia, you want to be a professor or something like that, please go. That's exactly where you should go. If you don't want to be those things, college is a colossal waste of time and money. It just gives you 4 years to screw around, destroy your work ethic, make you lazy, destroy your creativity, destroy your initiative. It's more harm than good. And by the way, Goldman Sachs said this like 20 years ago. Now, again, there's an exception. As I always say, the elite schools. The elite schools are valuable no matter what because of the networking that you get for going to elite schools. So elite schools are always good. They can teach you nothing. I mean, they don't, but it doesn't matter. You can just show up for 4 years. It doesn't matter. That there's value in the networking of elite schools no matter what. So that's always the same. So I hope that was clear. So I know some of you are mad at me. I don't care. It's still true. So yes. John says, politicians hate us like many in a workplace who hate the customers who support the work. Yes. Oh, wow. John, very good. Politicians hate us like many in a workplace who hate the customers who support the workplace. Yes, absolutely. At what point does everyone admit that we can't stop COVID? See, that's, Pete, here is the scam. Here is the scam. They're not going to say we can't stop it. They're going to say we beat it. That's what they're going to say. The languaging, the verbs and the words they use are going to really matter. They're not going to say we stopped it. They're going to say we beat it. And now it's just this thing. So that's how they're going to spin it. Yes. So, all right. Kelly says, so Larry, how do we change it? What do we have to do? How do we have to change things? You vote libertarian, number one. You stop voting left-right paradigm. So you vote libertarian And you get me to be more popular, so people will listen to my K through 10 program. My K through 10 program is the answer. The way we fund it, that I'm talking about, is funding it specifically with a statewide currency. That is how you fund it, which changes all the funding. You break the federal strings, and you break the state strings, and you allow each district to do what it wants to do. Many of them will do exactly the same thing. Most will not change, right? Here's how it always works. Whenever you implement change, as long as it's voluntary, this is why people don't like voluntary change, because when you do voluntary change, most people won't change, even if it's bad. There will only be some early adopters. Early adopters will make the change. Most early adopters will be people who are desperate, like the broken school districts in Rochester and New York City. Most of them are like, we're broken. We will do anything because we're not working for sure. I can't keep my kids in school, so I'll do whatever. They'll change. And as they change, others will watch and go, that worked. Let's try that. So this is a long-term solution that will allow each individual district to make change on its own. Over the first year or two, you won't see that much change, except for certain areas where you'll see lots of change. They will jump on board. They'll be the early adopters. That's how everything works, right? And iPhones is the most popular example we use, but anything will work. Who will try this thing first, and others will follow. And then eventually others will follow. So it's not about implementing a policy. It's about making a change to the culture. Stop voting left-right paradigm. Left-right paradigm is only one of two things. Give it more money or go to the voucher program, which supports the current program. Obviously, says, Larry, I'm a bit confused about your option of school choice in the voucher program. I'll tell you why. It will not incentivize private schools. It will not. Because what will happen is the second you do that, everyone gets pissed off and starts funding more money back to the schools. The voucher programs now are already, anytime you bring in vouchers or school choice, what happens is the actual powers that be, if you don't break them, they just make all the money go back to them again, which they're trying to do right now. It doesn't work because the system itself is still too powerful. You have to break the system, and then school choice happens by default. My plan, Avi, is to change the environment to where school choice happens on its own naturally, to where vouchers are not required, right? Because you're going to get a school credit no matter what, if you go to private school or homeschooling. So there's no need to decide where you're going. It's just you decide where you want to go. The school gets the credit. The money goes right to the school. It doesn't go through you at all, right to the school. So when you make that happen, it will begin to happen on its own. And one of the things people don't like is they say, well, if you do vouchers and school choice, you're taking money away from the bad schools and giving it to the good schools, right? So the poor kids are the ones who still get screwed over, and the bad schools stay bad, right? That's what they say. And that's actually what happens usually. Usually the bad schools do stay bad. But if you instead changed it to where you supported all of it, the bad schools don't stay bad because the bad schools are competing. In the voucher program, they don't actually compete because you keep giving money to the bad schools. I'm not being clear. I realize it makes total sense to me because I understand the system. So let me try to make it to someone who doesn't understand the system. If you start taking money away from the bad schools, because of our current algorithm in New York State, money will still start getting funneled to that bad school anyway. And you might go, wait a minute, Larry, that's exactly the opposite of what you said. It is. Here's how it actually works. I'm a bad school. There's a good school. Let's have a voucher for the good school. Money starts going to the good school, right? Okay, great. Now the bad school is still bad. So I go, I'm in trouble. You got to give me more money because I'm a bad school. So what happens? The budget increases. And then now the bad school keeps getting money. So the bad school gets rewarded for bad behavior and the good school gets rewarded, but the bad school teachers now are mad. Why am I in the bad school of bad students? I need to have better students. So what happens in New York State, in New York City? Now in New York City, if you know this, what was their answer? Well, we can't have all the bad teachers getting more money, of course, because we don't stop the money being with all the bad students. So now we're going to make it to where every school is random. I'm not joking. Obviously, the new thing. All the students that were random. It doesn't matter what your testing is. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You all go to random schools. This is true. Remember the Asian kids were getting too many spots, and if they push the Asian kids out, well, now it's all random. So in the long run, if you don't break the system, it still becomes bad. So at first, the bad schools don't get any money. Then their algorithm kicks in and they get extra money. So we just increase the budget. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, do your homework. This is what actually happens. So now we have a bigger school budget. So, because more money has to go to the bad schools anyway. They have to be rewarded for bad behavior. That's how the system works. You get rewarded for bad behavior. So they suck. Here's more money. You still suck. Here's more money. You still suck. Here's more money. So that's what happens. So now they start getting money too. Everything gets, they all start getting more money. And the people who have bad students getting more money get upset because students don't get any better. Why? Because the system is broken. You're teaching garbage, spending all your time trying to discipline the kids instead of putting them in better schools. Nothing works. So I know I was a bit off on that. All I guess I'm saying is the system's so bad, vouchers can't fix it. School choice can't fix it. The system has to be completely changed because the way it works in New York State, I don't know if this works in other states the same way. In New York State, being a bad school gets you in the long run more money. You have to fight for it and get angry. There's an algorithm that no one understands that works in New York State, except for like the actuaries. And the money goes to those schools anyway. It just makes the budget bigger. I don't know if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. The system's broken. That's what I keep saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. All right. Let's see here. Chad says 2012 Gary Johnson was better than 2016 Gary Johnson, in my opinion. I know I love Gary Johnson. I'm always gonna love him. He's a good man. I'm always gonna love Gary Johnson. I wish he'd done better. I wish he did. I'm a big fan. I'd vote for him again. If he run in 2020, I'd vote for him again. If he comes out of retirement and runs 2024, I'll vote for him again. I love Gary Johnson. I'll always vote for him. He's a good man. Christopher says, sin and them devils has and have hindered, tempted, and deceived many good people in position of power and authority, which shame, fear, and guilt keeps these good people who are in power. All right, I'm not sure where you're going with this one, Christopher. Are you saying that we don't care? So what? I'm not sure where you're going with this one. So you practice homosexuality. Is that a bad thing? Krista, I think you're angry and you're saying that the devil keeps bad people in power. And well, I'm not sure where you're going with that. So I'm gonna try to see if I can answer that. I'm not sure where you're going with that one. Positions of power very often draw people who want power, right? That's a normal thing, right? If I want power, I get drawn to powerful positions. That's how it works. So I think that part's true. You increase the odds of that happening. Plus, now you get into power. Well, now what's the saying? Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think power does corrupt you. I think it's true, which is why you have to have a world or a system or an environment to where it doesn't make sense to be corrupt, right? So you can try to create a world to where you will be caught when you begin to become corrupt. The odds are anyone in charge, me included, right? I wish I was some perfect saint who was uncorruptible. That'd be amazing. I don't think I am. I think I'm just human like anybody else. The hope is you'd create an environment to where you'd have people around you to when you start to become corrupt, they would correct you and go, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know you can't do this, right? And people around you will be like, dude, you can't do this. You have an environment to where whistleblowers are rewarded, to where people are forgiven. If you have that kind of environment, which is what I always talk about, second chances, forgiven, supporting whistleblowers. If you have that environment, when you make the move towards corruption, which I think any of us would at one point, there's people around you going, dude, no, this is not the right answer. And you go, you know what? You're right. That was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. That was dumb. And then you're forgiven for the small error that you made. And you can come clean and go, I was walking down a bad road. I shouldn't have gone down that road. Sorry, guys. And it's not like, oh my God, you made one mistake, fired, resign, end. Well, of course you never say anything because if you make one mistake, you're gone. But if you make the one mistake, people say, dude, what are you doing? You come clean and go, I screwed up. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have done that. I see my ways. I got systems in place to stop me from doing it again. Maybe we can have a better system. Will there be corruption? Yeah. Jenna says, I love common sense. Love you, library. Thank you. Alexander says, when was the last time you ate at McDonald's and what did you eat? I usually don't eat fast food. I'm on the keto lifestyle. I've been keto for about 11 years. So I rarely eat carbs. I do sometimes, but it's rare that I eat carbs. When I went to McDonald's probably year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember when. And I tend to like McDonald's French fries and McDonald's McNuggets. So when I go, which is rare, maybe once a year, probably less than that, probably once every couple years. I like those two. When it comes to burgers, I prefer Burger King burgers to McDonald's burgers. Not that they're bad. I would eat either of them. I like them both. But I prefer Burger King burgers, but McDonald's fries and McDonald's McNuggets. So if I go to McDonald's, again, it's rare, but I do sometimes. It's McNuggets, and I did like the McRib when it came out, but I haven't had a McRib in, I don't know, 10 years more. I did like it though. It was tasty. I enjoyed the McRib. So I hardly ever eat fast food. That's not true. If I have fast food, I will have Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeye's chicken. The breaded the breading on the skin does have some carbs. Popeye's has more carbs than Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I prefer Kentucky Fried Chicken because it has less carbs. So I will sometimes have a couple of pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken because it isn't as carby as Popeye's is. But I have Popeyes sometimes too. It's just I can't have as much because it's too many carbs. I try to keep myself under 20 carbs every day. Sometimes I have like 5. I try to keep low if I can. No matter what, I rarely go over 40 carbs a day. That's a lot for me. For me to go over 40 carbs is a broken day. Usually I'm under 20 carbs every day. So that's why I don't eat that much fast food. It's heavily carbs. I don't really eat it. So yes. John says, can Yang or the Forward Party get an all 50 state ballots? I mean, it'll be hard. You have to start early. And it will probably cost, give or take, $20 to $30 million. That's a serious number. $20 or $30 million you can probably get on every ballot. You could do it, probably. Or he could really, really adjust his platform and go libertarian. It would take a lot of adjusting, but he could. I'm open to it. So Jess says, third rule on Matt Taibbi's 10 rules of hate is hate people, not institutions. As long as we're hating the wealthy people, we're not focused on the government, which is actually harming us. Yes, you're correct. The system's bad. Absolutely. Yes. Nate says, media, social media, and government are all in bed thanks to the Trusted News Initiative. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. All right. Let's see. Good clarification. Establishment is not public. Correct. Yes. Thank you. They are two separate things. Yes, absolutely. The establishment thinks differently. Yes. Obviously, Larry, do you think if the Republicans smarten up and allow you to be in the primary that you can attract attention and support from big names again like Glenn Beck, Joe Rogan, Lauren Chan, the popular conservatives that previously supported you? Yes, absolutely. 100%. It's amazing how the Republicans run, lose, disappear, watch Democrats ruin the state with barely a sound and yet demand allegiance. Yes, absolutely. I think absolutely I can. Yes, no doubt. Absolutely. Yes. All right, let's see here. Dan says, sadly, Joe Jorgens was a weak candidate. I felt I had to vote for Trump in 2020. I did it for one reason. He wasn't pushed for more mandates. Let me give you my piece on this, right? I understand why people voted for either, Biden or Trump because they're scared of the other. Right? Oh, I'm scared of Trump, gonna vote Biden. Scared of Biden, gonna vote Trump. I get it. I'm not mad at people for doing it. I think it was a mistake. Joe Jorgensen was not my favorite candidate. It's true. I'm a Gary Johnson fan, and I loved him, and I wish he'd run forever. I'm a big fan. Clearly, I'm fanboying. That's fine. That's who I am. No worries. I still voted for Joe Jorgensen, and I would have done it again. If she's the nominee in 2024, I would do it again. Why? Why would I do that when we could get a Trump or a Biden or whatever? Here's why, Dan. Remember this. Bush got us Obama. Obama got us Trump. Trump got us Biden. Who's winning? Not us. So great. You got Trump in 2016. Then you got Biden in 2020. If you're like, yay, I hate Trump, whatever, fine. You got Biden now. Who you can get in 2024? Trump? Cruz? Whatever. And then you get Trump or Cruz in 2024. Who you get in 2028? AOC? It's not a win. It's just pushing off your pain for 8 years. Imagine if you would. Let me go down my fantasy road for a moment, Dan. Obviously, it's not happened. Say my fantasy world. 2016. Gary Johnson wins a state. He wins Utah. I'm making it up. He wins Utah, right? So he gets a gold state. He gets Utah in 2016. Gary Johnson, the most popular libertarian we had as running for president ever, wins Utah. Whatever, makes it up, and gets 7% of the vote. I made the number up, right? because enough people said, it doesn't matter. I don't care about Hillary or Trump. I'm going to vote for Gary Johnson. He's the right guy to vote. And he gets 7% of the vote and he wins Utah. That's all. That's still a loss. And 7% is not even 10% of the vote. But imagine what people be thinking about in 2020. They'd be thinking, wait a minute, 7% of the vote. That's a lot. That's going to decide some states. That may decide the entire election. That matters. Who are these people voting for this 7%? Oh, libertarians. We better be more libertarian. Not because they care about libertarians. They don't. But they want the votes. And if 7% of the people would ignore the big parties and vote for the third party, that's enough to make them move and shift. They have to pretend to be libertarian. How do I know that? Because in New York State, look at any Republican running for office. When he goes on the TV shows or when he goes on the podcast, it's always a he will always bring up libertarianism. Always. Why? Because he wants my votes. Yeah, he does. He knows that I have a chunk of votes in this state. He knows that. He's like, well, I need those votes. So he's at least giving me lip service. Well, more libertarian about this or that. I vote libertarian on this. They always say that. Why? Because they know in this state it matters. Why? Because of the impact I had last time, and hopefully we'll have this year. But yes, the impact I'm going to have does matter. It changes people. They have to stop thinking differently. Now, in my state, the Democrats don't care because they dominate the state. They don't care at all right now. I get it. But across the country, they do. So my point is, vote libertarian or third party, but I say libertarian. I'm blatantly biased. I don't care. It's my bias. Vote libertarian, no matter what, as long as you don't hate the candidate. I mean, obviously, vote for something you hate, right? If you think they're just libertarian in the name, but they're not really libertarian, I get that. But assuming that you believe they're actually libertarian, not perfect, because none of us are, if you believe that, my view, always voted, assuming those two things were true, that you think they're libertarian enough and you don't hate them. Assuming those two things are not true, right? No, they are true, yes. Then vote for them, because in the long run, you will move the entire country. In the short run, you get your Trump or your Clinton or your Biden or whatever you care about. That's great, short run. But long run is no difference. You're just delaying your pain for 4 years or 8 years. I don't want to delay my pain. I want to fix the system. That's my view. I get why you did it. I know people in New York who were so afraid of Trump. They're like, oh, Trump's going to kill us all. Got to vote Biden. They hated Biden. Well, they didn't hate Biden. Most people didn't hate Biden. Most people just felt nothing. Most people did. Now more people hate Biden. But back then, most people were like, he's not Trump, right? So I guess that's what most people like. So anyway, hope that answers your question. The HTS Disciple says, are you on Rumble? I'm not. I need to get on Rumble. Rumble, I got to get a bunch of those. That's one of my next steps. I'm working on that, yes. So David says, Democrat-controlled state legislatures gerrymandering their states, and Republican-controlled states legislatures gerrymandering their states. Yes, they do it because they think the earth will crash into the sun if they don't. They do it because that just proves that we don't have a working, functioning democracy, David. The parties pick the voters. The voters don't pick the party, right? The parties pick their voters to ensure they get their chunk. This is just a cartel. I'm not making that up, right? It's a cartel. It's a cartel system, right? Like Comcast goes over here, but then Spectrum goes over there. Democrats go over here. They pick their own voters. And that's the system. And you have no say because they then decide to have no primary. So they decide who's going to run. And that person wins in the gerrymandering district. They pick all the leaders. You don't. You don't have any power. That's why I keep saying. Dan asked about voting for Joe Jorgensen. I did. Don't have a third party. Of course we do it. If Yang was running and no other third party was running, I'd vote Yang. Yes, third party is still better. Still better than what I have. Still better. Doesn't matter. I would. So third party is still better. Because we have to break this. Please let a libertarian run. But just saying. Theoretically. There we go. Yes. So Michael Voss says, you may have covered this. Should Sotomayor accuse herself for misinformation and be banned? Does her words show education and rights? No. How do I say this? I'm trying to be fair on this one, Michael. She is a symptom, right? She's a symptom. If what she thinks, many Americans think. She absolutely represents a huge chunk of America who have been, what's the word to use? Duped, maybe. I'm not sure the right word to use, but convinced that what the mainstream media says is true. She's buying it. And somehow people think all the time that, well, the elites cannot, the elites get on it too. She believes it. I think she believes that COVID's killing kids. I think she believes it. Why would she recuse herself? She represents a chunk of America. If she recuses herself, does that fix the system? No. Let's fix the system. We shouldn't have Supreme Court justices who think there are, what did she say, 100,000 kids dying of COVID or whatever she said? I forgot. She said whatever thing she said that was blatantly not true, just obviously not true. She said it, not because she misspoke, because she believed it. And if she believes it, there are literally millions of Americans who also believe it. I would not want her to recuse herself. I want to shine a spotlight on that so we can see, wow, that's wrong. And some news stations have, shown a spotlight on that. It's an important piece. We should be letting everyone know that. Yes, absolutely. That was just a reply, and my name is Maria. Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. You're right about the schools and backpacks. We're experiencing that upstate. Rensselaer County as well. Open windows, coats, gloves, and 30-pound backpacks. It will be a joke if our kids want to suffer. Thank you. See, it's not just me. See? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Maria, thank you. There we go. I just want to be respectful, Maria. So that's why I'm sorry. I was not at all trying to insult you in any way, shape, or form. I was trying to be respectful. So thank you, Maria. Yes, thank you. So, all righty. Good. Pete says, if you think New York school system is a swimming pile of shit, like, comment, share. You should like, comment, and yeah, yes, absolutely. Kyle says, glad to be here again, my man Larry. Thank you, my friend. Yes, by the way, I was just doing your show. You know what? I don't remember if my team has shared that or not. They were away. 2 were away with family issues. My social media has not been very aggressive recently. Let me see if I can fix that. Thank you. Yes. Let's see if I can keep doing this. All right. Let's see here. Grab a couple more here. Mike says, can I use your Sharpe Way logo for my profile pic, please? Mike, use whatever you want. You can use my handsome mug if you want to. I don't care. Whatever you want. You go ahead. Do it. Yes, exactly. Do whatever you feel is appropriate. Yes. So, all right. Michael says, your response was great. Yes. Dan says, smartness is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salad. Oh, Dan, nicely done. Smartness is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. Yes, that is true, by the way. If those who don't know, tomato is a fruit. But most people think it's a vegetable, so you're right. And you should not put it in fruit salad. Dan, correct again. Thank you very much. That's very good. Yes. So, let's see here. Jess says, do you think lab rats trapped in mazes argue with other lab rats about who would maintain the paths and uses it as an excuse to not rise up against their captors? I think if lab rats could think that way, I think you're right. Yes, absolutely. Mike says, reform the Department of Education so you don't need it anymore, just like food stamps. Yes, agreed. I like that. And the Department of Homeland Security. Yes. Yeah. Some have to go. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thoughts on eliminating school taxes and just having sales tax on all items? Conceptually, it's not a bad idea conceptually. The problem is we're so making a change like that would create such a high sales tax that it would shock people in New York State, and it would probably crush tourism. And New York State's huge in tourism. We probably bring in $50 billion a year in tourism. Before COVID. So I'd be worried about doing it quickly. Could you phase that in? I think yes. If doing it quickly would shock the system even worse and might crush our tourism industry even worse than it already is, and we need more of it in New York State. And would also shock you individually. You would think there'd be massive inflation because of the high sales tax. If you don't change how we spend with an increasing budget, again, this is back to the system, right? Conceptually, I like the concept, but you'd have to change the system to where our budget isn't $220 billion a year. To be clear, There are only 20 countries plus California that have bigger budget than New York State. So if you could lower the budget to maybe a Florida-sized budget, which is half our budget, with more people, by the way, maybe then. So there has to be larger changes before we would do that. So yes. All right, let me see if I can keep grabbing some of these. Let's see here. So many of these. All right, let's see if I can go here. John says, I heard on the radio today that they have a new Omicron vaccine coming in March. The Omicron variant has an exceptionally low rate. Yes, and they just had a new one. Is it in Greece? A new variant in Greece just popped up last week, recently. So they have another variant. So I guess that variant comes out. The next jab comes out maybe March then? Yes, I love that. So Brennan says, Larry is like Morpheus, Jack Black guy in New York who's probably from the future. Oh, I like that. Oh, it's funny. People have asked me, I think I told the story before. They say, what archetype are you from the movies? And I always say, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi or like Morpheus. I don't mind. I like being the guy who, goes off and fights the agents and dies, or fights Darth Vader and dies and then becomes stronger after he dies, and then the rebels win, right? So, yeah, so I hope I can do great so that, I don't know, maybe Pete can run and become the governor and president or something. I don't know. Maybe Avi be president, right? I'll go out there and Avi be president. So, yes, I don't mind being that guy. I'm happy being Morpheus or being Obi-Wan Kenobi, whatever. You insert guy who's the mentor who fixes things. I'm happy being that guy. No worries whatsoever. Yes. Dan says, interesting thing about Gary Johnson is that when I said that's who I voted for in 2016, they thought it was a joke until I started explaining Gary Johnson's background. Yep. When they heard that he was a successful two-term governor and that before that he built a handyman business to a construction company with about 1,000 employees, so they were interested. But 2016 was over. I wish there was some way to have intelligent conversation during the election cycle. Yeah. The funny thing is people often don't want to hear it because of fear. Like, no, I can't because I'm afraid that the other guy is going to win. I agree. Look, Gary Johnson wasn't the perfect candidate, no doubt. But if I had a choice of having that guy or who we have now, I wish this was Gary Johnson's second term. That's what I wish. I wish he was in his second term right now. That's my fantasy world, but obviously it's wrong. But I'd love that. How happy I'd be if I got to vote for him twice. Be amazing. Be amazing. Wish that was the case. So he's a good man who understands business, who is trying to help, who would never have done these mandates, who would never be bombing people, who would never have a homeland security like he has now. None of that would exist. We would have a much better country. Absolutely. But what are you going to do? So, let's see here. Derek says, libertarians are winning in New Hampshire by taking over the red team and rewriting their platform. So when as governor in New York, I feel like you need to appeal to a lot of blue teamers who are not very receptive to libertarian ideas. Can this be reconciled without compromising on libertarian principles? It's a tough line to walk, Derek. I think your point's a valid one, right? In New York State, the Republican Party has not won a statewide election in about 20 years. 20 years now, 2020. So it's been 20 years since they won an election in New York State. A statewide election, right? Republicans win locally in New York State all the time. Most of the counties are actually red counties in New York State. The problem in New York State is that the blue cities are so big that they control a statewide election. So locally, Republicans win often. Statewide, Republicans don't win anymore. And it's not the state isn't getting redder, it's getting bluer, as many people who vote red are packing up and leaving. Some of them, sadly for me, good for you, are going to New Hampshire. But they are leaving the state. So the odds of a Republican winning a statewide election, non-existent. It's not going to happen. It's a fantasy. And Republicans in this state will lie and tell you, this is the year, or the timing is right. They're completely full of shit. It's never going to happen. I'll bet my house on it. It's not going to happen. A straight Republican is never going to do it. It's just not going to work. It's not going to happen ever. And I think that's obvious. However, I think to win, you have to be able to appeal to pissed off Democrats. And more importantly, people who don't vote. Recently, a lot more New Yorkers have been voting, but a lot more means 40%. So we've been as low as 30% of the people who can vote voting in New York State. Many New Yorkers have checked out. They just like, it doesn't matter. Why bother? Don't vote. So you have to be able to get a bunch of pissed off Democrats, but more importantly, a bunch of people who are checked out have to start checking in. Some of them will be red. Some of them will be blue. A lot of them, though, will be red, because if you look at upstate New York, there are certain areas where only 1 in 6 people vote. Why? The districts are all gerrymandered that the red team wins in these small areas. No matter what you do, the blue teams never win. So the red team's going to win. And statewide, you can't make any impact because the red team's going to lose. So why bother voting? If you're in a small district that's gerrymandered red in upstate New York, why vote? I'm serious. Why vote? The red guy's going to win in your district, and the blue guy's going to win statewide. It doesn't matter what you do. Your vote's irrelevant. That's our current system, which is why I say we have to break that system. So I think you're right. You have to get some blue teamers. I do. And I have to get people who just don't vote. And the way I do it in general, and I got Democrats with me last time, is I give solutions. The average Democrat, not the establishment Democrat, the average Democrat doesn't actually care about Democrat or Republican. They say, I want my problem solved. And they believe Democrats have the answer. They believe that, or have an answer at least. They believe that. So they vote for that. They think they've been taught for at least 20 years that Republicans hate them. And Republicans have been taught that Democrats hate them. So they don't vote for those guys. So I think that's why they vote. They haven't been taught libertarians hate them because we haven't had any power. So soon they'll be told that, hopefully. But right now they haven't been told that. So I think that's how we win, Derek, if that makes any sense. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Brandon says, I have massive bowls of spaghetti and bread. Isn't that full of carbs? Yes. Hence, I rarely ever eat spaghetti and almost never eat bread. It's very rare I eat bread. Once in a while, like I have a slice of pizza here or there, but if I do that, I'm breaking my carbs and I'm not doing keto that day. Generally speaking, I stay on my keto lifestyle every day, except like sometimes like during Christmas or holidays, I'll break for that day. Otherwise, I just rarely eat carbs. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Michael says, you don't want Yang. His policies and math are insane. He promotes unlimited debt spending, saying no consequence to printing money. I want a third party to break this system. Yang is not my first choice for that, obviously, but I would take him if there was no one else. I would take almost anybody. And it sounds horrible, but I'm being clear. I'm being forward. I would. It's got to break. We have to change this, right? So I'm trying to create good policies and good candidates that we can vote for. Otherwise, we're just going back and forth again. Amash 2024. I love Amash. I hope he runs 2024. It'd be great. I hope he does. I hope he does run. I really do. It'd be great. Yes. So, Jack says the two-headed eagle wins every time. Yeah, it does. Yes. Davis says the people in the middle aren't winning. Yep, absolutely. So, all right, let's say, Avi says, Larry, even though Austin Peters is now a Republican who supports Trump, do you think when you run for governor that he would support you over Republican, assuming the Republicans block you from debating? I don't know. Austin and I are friends. I like him. I supported him when he ran, even though he was Republican. I still supported him when he ran. I donated money to him. I did a fundraiser for him. I'm happy. I did a video for him. I'm a fan. And people get mad at me for supporting Austin. I know they do. They're like, he left us and he became Republican. It's true, but we were friends before and we're still friends now. He's still my friend. So I still support him. He's still my friend, right? People got mad at me. I think it might have been you too, Bob. You were mad at me for supporting Jeff Hewitt over Larry Elder. I was like, Jeff's my friend. See, it works both ways. I support my friend, both cases. One's libertarian, one's Republican. Both my friends. I know them both. I like them both. They're both good people. So I would support Austin again. I would think he would support me. I think he would, but depends on if it would affect him running again. I don't know. But yeah, friendship matters too, right? It wasn't like would be against the other guy. Just Jeff Hewitt was my friend, so I wanted him to be governor of California over Larry Elder. I just did. I know you were like, what? But Larry Elder. I'm like, just my friend. And Austin's my friend, so I support him too. And he's Republican. So yes. Sorry about that. So, Michael says, yes, need to go on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute. Yeah, I got to start working on all those. It's tough, but I think I have to start moving that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have to. Absolutely. And Tim Pool. Yes, maybe I'll go on Tim Pool. If you guys know Tim Pool, bug him. Tell him to bring me on. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So let's see if I can grab a couple of these. See here. The TS Disciple, you have given good points about the school system, especially how bad schools get funded more. I've witnessed it before. Yes, that's the problem. The system is just, it's so broken. We have to fix the system, right? We have to fix the system. Absolutely. Jamie says tourism in New York is hopping on a plane from LaGuardia to Florida. Sadly, it is. Yes, that's got to change. Yes, absolutely. 100%. All right. Let's see if I can grab a couple more here. Vanessa says, I've always thought Omicron sounded like a cryptocurrency. That's a good point. It kind of has. Yeah, it kind of has. Well, I wish it was, actually. It'd be great. So, all right. Let's see here. Dan says, I voted for Austin in 2018. Was disappointed when he didn't get the Senate nomination. He's what you do if you're a libertarian in a red state. You know, I got to tell you, I still think that he should have stayed libertarian. I do. I still think that. When he asked me, I told him. I was like, I think you should stay libertarian. He went with other people. There were a lot of, I was in the minority. To be fair to Austin, I was in the minority. Most of his friends were like, dude, you got to go Republican. It's the only answer. I was one of the guys in the back going, don't do it. Go libertarian. And I still think he should have. Why? Because if he would have run libertarian, first off, there is no one in Missouri who would have beaten him in the primary. Nobody. Right? Nobody. He would have won the primary hands down. He would have made it to the general election. Getting to the general election, I think he could have gotten a good chunk of the vote. Whatever chunk he would have gotten, he would have been noticed more. I think he would have been more of a libertarian hero. He could have run for governor or whatever he wanted to in Missouri. And I think, in my view, he would have had a better chance if he then later moved to Republican, because he would have got more name recognition being big fish in a small pond. And my example is me. I only got 2% when I ran last time, but I'm still better known in the state and across the country because I was a big fish in a small pond. Even though I only got 2%, it was better than any libertarian had ever gotten in New York State, and the first time we ever got ballot access in the history of the party. So while it was still a loss, and 2% is low, obviously it's a low percentage, relative to me running as libertarian, it was a great showing for that, right? So I think if Austin had done that, he would have gotten probably more than 2%. I mean, he was more popular than that. He would have gotten more, whatever, 5%, whatever he would have gotten. He would have gotten that number and be like, whoa, libertarian gets that amount? Oh my God. Then that would have made him more powerful. The Republicans are always asking me to run in New York State for something. Always. Like, always. They want me to run for something. I'm not a Republican, though. I'm not. I'm not a Republican. I'm a libertarian. So it's just who I am. So it is my view, my opinion. I wish he had stayed libertarian. But again, if the Republican Party was more like Austin Peterson, it'd be a better party. That's what I'll say. Be a better party. I wish it was more like him. So yes. All right. Alexander says, I voted for Jeff Hewitt. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%. All right. Let's see here. Avi says, Larry, I'm not upset with you about choosing Jeff Hewitt over Larry Elder. I thought Hewitt was good. Just realistically felt Elder had a best chance to overthrow El Ducey. Yes. Yeah, that's good. El Ducey, Gavin Nuvolini, Semper Fi for Liberty. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Let's see. AP going GOP is different than Ron Paul being GOP. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I would bring them together in that regard. I don't like to compare people to Ron Paul in general. Ron Paul moved a lot of people to our movement. The amount of people I meet who are libertarians who came because of Ron Paul is huge chunk. I mean, I didn't. I came because of Gary Johnson. And some people came because of AP. But I think Ron Paul's a separate animal. I don't know if it's fair to compare people to him. Maybe. Because even when he went back to Republican, he was still bringing people to the Libertarian Party, if that makes any sense, right? I'm not sure Austin's doing that now. Maybe. I don't know. It's tough to compare people to Ron Paul, I guess is my point. I'm not sure. Because even when he went back to the Republican Party, he was still bringing some people to the Libertarian side, even though, if that makes any sense. So I'm not sure AP's doing that. Maybe. I'm not sure. So Paula says, you were right about Larry Elder. I like him, but you were correct. He's so much of a culture warrior. I think that's what got him. I do. I think that's what got him. Right? That was my point. I thought they would do that, and they did it. I think the end showed that's what happened. They did get him that way. He's a radio talk show host. He's accustomed to that. That's how he makes a living. That's what that's what he's good at. I mean, people tend to do what they're good at. He's good at it. That's what he does. He's good at it. And he kept doing it because he's good at it. Why wouldn't he? So yes. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can do that. All right. Let me grab a couple more of these if I can. Adrian says, I watched The Hill, Breaking Points in DW English. I don't know what DW English. I need to check that one out. I know The Hill and Breaking Point. I do watch them sometimes. But yeah, I don't know DW English. I'll check that one out. Vanessa says, the first time I ever voted was for you, Larry. Oh, thank you. Not wise to not vote previously, but I'm on it now. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. I do appreciate that tremendously. Absolutely. Chip says, Obi-Wan, count me in the Rebel Alliance. That's what I want to hear. Yes, absolutely. I love that. All right. Logic says, that's what's going to get us the win. All we need is for the right to cross the aisle. Why do conservatives vote Republican anyway? Most of their candidates end up being rhinos anyway. You know, this is an issue. The Conservative Party, I think, in New York State would absolutely back me. But the problem, the way we work in New York State, is the Republicans kind of control them. So we have to make sure that if the Republicans are smart and savvy, and they actually decide to back me, and they give me the line, then the Conservative Party will absolutely do it. It would think twice. Yes, they'd happily have me. They know that the current Republican establishment is not conservative. It is establishment, which, if you know the Republican Party in New York State, establishment and conservative are not the same thing. They're not at all. So they know that the Republican Party leadership is establishment and not conservative. So most of the Conservative Party people don't actually like them, but they kind of need them. So it's a tough environment. Guys, I want to say, please make sure you're liking and commenting and sharing. I know it's been rolling at the bottom. Please do it. Every little hit counts. It does matter. And of course, as you always hear me talk about, libertarianism.com. Click that link. They support the show. It does matter. Go there, share the link, share it out there, let people know it's out there. It's free. Liking, commenting, and sharing, totally free. Going to libertarians.com, totally free. If you want to pick up some cool merch, you can, but no worries. You don't have to. It is free. It just takes you a little bit of time. That's all it takes. A little bit of time. That's what I want you to do. John says, kids are not struggling with COVID. They struggle more with the flu, and they even beat that so much that it's never been news before. Good point, John. But now they all need COVID vaccination. I call BS. When will the ignorant and not so ignorant powers that be stop their attempt to wear down our kids into compliance? It's vulgar. It isn't the kids they're trying to wear down, John. It's us. It's us. And if they get our kids, they get us. It's us. The kids are a byproduct, not the goal, a byproduct. We're the goal. Yes. Calling off every event that is the norm in high school, dances, candles, etc. My attorney general told every school in Missouri to cease and desist tracking and quarantining and masking. Eventually I have to. Yes. Eventually I have to. Absolutely. Logic says, can agree. Most of my conservative friends, especially from New York, feel like Republicans always sell them out at the end of the day every time. Because they do. That's accurate. They do. Yes. 100%. They absolutely do. Guys, I want to thank you so much for today. All the time you gave me, I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me a chunk of your evening. Hope it was entertaining and interesting. As always, please, if you want to help out, I say it every time. Share this everywhere you possibly can. It is important that you share it so people see this, become more and more popular. If you want to support me running around New York State, LarrySharpe.com/donate. Always good to do. I will see you all very soon.